Good morning, everyone. We will now begin the morning service of the Miroku Association headquarters, asking God and Meishu-sama to protect and bless us as we participate today in the construction of paradise on earth. Please stand for the Amatsu-Norito, the prayer of heaven, followed by the Miroku prayer. Taka amahara ni kamuzumarimasu kamurogi kamuromi no mikoto mochite sumemi oya kamu izanagi no mikoto tsukushi no himuka no tachi hana no odo no harai harai Misogi harai tamo toki ni narimaseru harai dono o kami tachi moro moro no magago totsumi kegareyo harai tamae kiyome tamae tomao sukoto no yoshio ama tomoni Ame no fuchi koma no mimi furi tatete kikoshi meseto kashi komi mo maosu Miroku o mikami mamori tamae saki hai tamae Miroku o mikami mamori tamae saki hai tamae Oshie miyoya nushi no kami mamori tamae saki hai tamae Oshie miyoya nushi no kami mamori tamae saki hai tamae Kam nagara tamachi hai mase. Kam nagara tamachi hai mase. Great God of light, creator and giver of all life, in accordance with your divine will, the long age of night draws to an end. Your radiant divine light, shining ever more brilliantly, awakens the dawn of the glorious age of light, a time long awaited by all humanity. We thank you for guiding us to your divine plan and for the privilege of channeling and receiving Johrei. May our spirits and bodies be illuminated and purified as we live your truth given to us by Meishu-sama. Make us pure and effective instruments of your divine light so that we may serve you and all those with whom we come in contact. May paradise on earth be realized with health, peace, and prosperity, a reality in our lives. Great God of light, bless and protect us. Radiate our souls with your divine light so that we may truly become instruments of your great plan. Please be seated for group joy. May God and bless you. Teaching today is entitled God's Plans from Daily Inspirations, page 18. How can God's great plan to dispel humanity's errors and purify the universe be perceived by our limited human sight? For thousands of years, for eons, God has waited for the right time. It has arrived. God's plan is being fulfilled. God's great plan for paradise must begin somewhere, with a small prototype in the material world. Our goal is to construct paradise on earth. This ideal world is about to be born. According to the revelation I received, the foundation of paradise on earth has already been established in the spiritual realm. Therefore, there is no doubt that it will materialize on earth in the near future. What a fortunate time it is in which we have been born. The thought of this fills us with joy. How might it occur? Suppose someone wished to build a magnificent home in the place of an existing structure. The old house first has to be taken down. Some of the building blocks of that house, such as lumber, can be used again for the new building, but only after they have been selected, washed clean, shaved with a plane, and polished. The same principle is involved in the construction of paradise on earth. Thus, even though some events that will happen may seem unreasonable, illogical, unproductive, or even destructive from a human perspective, please understand that what is actually happening is a major purification of an accumulation of clouds. It is all part of the profound plan of God and cannot be judged with our limited perception. We should act with humility, being careful not to question God's will and remaining faithful. No matter what circumstances arise, whether unprecedented, unusual, or destructive, it is important to keep our peace of mind. This is possible only for those who have deep faith and trust in God. In the meantime, we should enjoy life and wait for the right time, leaving the final outcome in God's hands. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the Miroku Association Headquarters morning service. This morning, I want to share with you the faith experience of Janete Shepansky Rodriguez. She's from the Pinhais Johrei Center in Paraná, Brazil. In August 2019, Janete began to experience constant buzzing and pain in her left ear, which intensified day after day. She looked for a specialist doctor who ordered a series of tests. This pointed to 80% hearing loss due to a bacterial infection. According to the doctor, there was the possibility that her hearing damage was irreversible, and that only time could confirm that her hearing would return. She was a little scared. However, she decided to seek Meishu-sama's spiritual guidance through her minister and went to the Johrei Center. She explained her situation to her minister and showed him the medical exams. After a long conversation, the minister instructed her to receive Johrei every day, dedicate as much to the church as possible, and consume foods from our nature farming method or organic sources. After 30 days, she could return to the doctor's consultation for evaluation of her condition. Despite the great challenge as the pain was intense, she started to put the recommendations into practice. She received Johrei every day in the Johrei Center and at home, as well as giving service 3 times a week. She began to consume almost exclusively pesticide-free food, which was not so difficult as she was already cultivating her home garden. Furthermore, she made the goal to gradually increase her monthly donation, which has been doing ever since. After 20 days of intensive practice, She was at her home when suddenly a yellow liquid began to flow incessantly from her nose. Initially, she was a little scared, as was her husband, because the elimination took place over an extended period of time. Nevertheless, she thought it was necessary purification to maintain her health. She reported what happened to her minister and continued to receive Johrei. The fluid dripped abundantly for a day and then continued in smaller amounts for another week. Once the elimination was completed, she no longer felt the tightness or pain which used to bother her so much. Her hearing was also gradually improving, and after 6 months, she was already hearing perfectly. Janet was very happy for the opportunity to eliminate the toxins from her body and overcome the purification without having to take any medication. She feels immensely grateful to God and Meishu-sama, and she has noticed how important it is to value supposedly simple things that we don't remember or to thank on a daily basis, like being able to listen. Her commitment is to intensify the channeling of Johrei, the materialization of gratitude offering, and to make herself available to help others who are purifying. In another experience I want to share with you, this one is from Ana Valeria Soares. She's from the Caxambi Johrei Center in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Ana Valeria owned a commercial catering establishment. In September 2018, she received an order to be delivered to a Johrei center in her neighborhood. Upon returning, the delivery boy gave her a lovely flower arrangement and told Anna it was sent by the client to bring light to her life. She was very happy and grateful for the client's expression of affection, which she didn't even know who the person was. This fact was repeated several times. With each new order, Anna returned to the previous vase and waited for new flowers that would brighten her day. In April 2020, at the beginning of the pandemic, she had to close commercial activities due to the drop in the clientele. She became very indebted as she had invested everything she had in opening the catering business and didn't know how to pay off the debts and continue to support herself. She lives with her daughter, with whom she started to have conflicts. They didn't listen to each other, and that generated a lot of disagreements. Her daughter, who was once a docile, happy, and affectionate teenager, started to stay awake all night because she was afraid of the dark. Excuse me. She didn't leave the house to avoid contact with people, barely ate, and lost interest in studying. In December of last year, after 8 months of not making money, Anna was invited to work as a home secretary to a family, and she promptly accepted the offer, even though she had never worked in that field. One morning in April of this year, with great anguish, she began to cry profusely, feeling she was at a dead end. Her employer, seeing Anna's despair, offered a prayer, and that is when Anna received her first Johrei. When the session finished, Anna felt relieved. Anna vented that she was going through many things and she was invited to visit the Johrei Center. That night she slept well, something that hadn't happened in a long time. A few days later, she went with her daughter to the Johrei Center in the company of her employer. They were introduced to the minister who instructed them to receive Johrei daily. She then remembered that this was the place where she delivered meals and wanted to meet the girl who sent her flowers. It was the Ikebana Sangetsu instructor, whom she was able to thank personally. She started to receive Johrei daily, attend our services online, read the divine writings, and started to practice daily donations, thanking God and Meishu-sama for what she was experiencing. She also started to give service with flowers once a week. She made flower arrangements at home and put them in every room. She feels that they purify and harmonize her home's atmosphere. With this practice, her life began to change. The relationship with her daughter improved. She stopped having anxiety attacks, went back to studying, and being the sweet and adorable daughter she was always. So, with the desire to bring happiness to many people through Johrei, Anna was able to receive the sacred focal point of Hikari in July of this year, 2021. She's currently able to pay off her debts and rebalance herself financially. Her daughter is doing fine. Anna channels Jory to her often, and they live in total harmony. Anna is immensely grateful to God and Meishu-sama for their permission to build paradise in their home through Jory, the contact with beauty, and the other practices of our faith. Thank you very much for listening to this wonderful experiences. Wish you a very wonderful day, a very wonderful week. With this concludes our morning service.